A boy was recalled as a hero and felt as if countless hands were reaching out to pull him, begging him to save the world. When he turned, he saw innumerable hands calling him a hero. He cried, calling out for his mother, and said that everyone was referring to him as a hero, but he questioned why he had to be one. He wanted to stop because it was too hard, and he was afraid. An image of his mother appeared before him, telling him that he was the hope of the world. She urged him not to speak like a weakling but to die like a hero, then pushed him toward those hands. After a while, the boy woke up as rain poured over him. He was Sungin Kim, newly awakened. Rising to his feet, he looked around at the ruined city and gripped his weapon, thinking he could rest for a moment, but then saw countless monsters and remarked that he couldn't catch a break with so many of them around. Standing atop a tall building, he leapt down to strike the monsters with his sword. He slashed continuously, jumped over one of the creatures, and struck the ground with such force that the impact overwhelmed many of them. After some time, he coughed, then heard a giant monster appear, addressing him as the human hero and declaring that it desired the strength he possessed. The monster confirmed that Sungin was worthy to become a part of him and declared that he would defeat Sungin to make his strength his own. It attacked, forcing Sungin to fall back while coughing, and in his exhaustion, he even let out a fart. His fatigue level was at 98. As the monster advanced, he wondered if that was how everything would end. The word hero almost made him laugh, since he felt he had never protected anyone. He said they should forget about him being a hero, as he had only been lucky. The monster then aimed a punch at him. Sometime later, when he woke up, he found himself surrounded by boys his own age. One of them remarked that they had thought he was dead because he had fainted. Soohyun, still confused, hurriedly stood up, leaving the others puzzled about why he had reacted like that. He stared at his hands and at the world around him, which looked perfectly fine, and wondered if everything he had just experienced had been a dream. Another boy asked if Soohyun had been sleep-talking, and said that if he was awake, then it was time for another beating. He grabbed Soohyun by the collar and told him to clench his teeth. Soohyun, completely bewildered, blocked the punch and instinctively struck back, sending the boy falling a short distance away. The others were shocked, while Soohyun quickly apologized, saying it wasn't on purpose. They wondered if he had gone crazy, and as a siren sounded in the distance, they looked at the injured boy and said that the police were coming. Jong complained about the timing and told the others to leave, saying they would meet Soohyun at Destiny. Soohyun was utterly confused when they called him Soohyun, even though his name was Sungin. He got up, trying to understand what was happening, and picked up a phone, wondering if they had dropped it and why they were using such an old model that was practically dead. Then he looked at his reflection in the screen and questioned whose face he was seeing, reminding to the year 2042, when the world had already fallen. Ever since dungeons began appearing across the globe, countless waves of monsters had poured into the human realm without end. The sudden outbreak of these otherworldly invaders shattered the once peaceful world. At the same time, however, humans with the power to resist the catastrophe also appeared, and people began calling them the Awakened. Soohyun was one of them, and even after everyone else perished, there was one person who fought on until the very end, the humanity's sole survivor and the strongest awakened. That person was none other than himself. At the police station, when asked for his name, he answered Soohyun Kim. But when the officer requested his date of birth, confusion struck him. Glancing at the calendar, he realized it was the year 2022. He clearly remembered it should have been 2042, which meant he had somehow gone back 20 years. When pressed for an answer, he claimed he was 19 years old, reasoning that he looked like a student, and that would be a believable excuse. The police grew suspicious, wondering why he only remembered his name and age, but not his home address. Soohyun thought to himself that it must be because he had died fighting Fafnir. He questioned whether it had all been a dream, or if he was still under Fafnir's magic. Yet the sensation felt too real to dismiss, and he believed he had truly returned to the past. Still, he worried about the original version of himself and wondered what he needed to do to return to that body. There were far too many questions he couldn't answer. The policeman finally told him there was no point dwelling on it, since his mother would arrive soon to pick him up. Until then, he was advised to wait quietly, stay home afterward, keep his head down, and avoid the nearby construction areas, which had been especially dangerous lately because of those things seen on the news. Soohyun wondered what exactly those things were, The officer remarked that kids those days didn't understand how frightening the outside world could really be. Before long, a lady rushed in, calling his name and asking why he was at the police station. Worried and out of breath, she asked if he was all right. Soohyun wondered if she was the mother of the original owner of the body he now inhabited. She took him home, remarking on whether he had forgotten the way since they had just moved. He replied that he wasn't quite used to the new place yet. She then noted that it was strange. He was speaking more politely than usual. Soohyun wondered if that was true and what their usual conversations had been like. He even questioned whether he should apologize for the trouble caused with someone named Steve. His mother handed him a handkerchief and told him to wipe his face, adding that the school bullies had been bothering him again. She asked when he would finally stand up to them and insisted he should tell her what they did next time. She promised not to sit by idly anymore. Taking his hand, she led him ahead, and he agreed. Along the way, she wondered aloud why the park was so empty, suspecting that something might have happened. Soohyun found the silence unusually heavy. Just then, he heard growling. His mother called out, asking if he was coming, and he answered that he was. Suddenly, a wolf lunged at him. Soohyun grabbed his mother and leapt aside, dodging the attack. The wolf regained its balance quickly, but he immediately realized it wasn't an ordinary beast. It was a werewolf. Now he understood that the things the police had mentioned were indeed monsters from the outbreaks. In 2022, the outbreaks were steadily rising, so seeing a monster appear in the middle of the city wasn't unusual anymore. Another wolf appeared, and Soohyun wondered how he would deal with both of them. He knew he needed a weapon, and quickly grabbed an umbrella, stepping in front of the wolves. His mother said she thought the news had reported that all of them had already been dealt with. He told her not to move, thinking that even though he wasn't fully familiar with his current body yet, he could still handle the situation. When one of the wolves charged, Soohyun swung the umbrella at it. The blow barely hurt the beast, and it counterattacked, striking him down. He tried to block with the umbrella, but the wolf's claws clamped onto him. He realized with frustration that his attack was far too weak. Soohyun collapsed onto the ground, trembling, unable to believe he had been knocked down by a monster of the lowest grade. He thought that with his original body, he could have slain it in a single strike, or even if he were simply awakened, he wouldn't have been in such a pitiful state. As another wolf lunged at him, he realized the situation was dire, but then, to his shock, he saw his mother suddenly leap forward to strike back at the second beast. Soohyun was stunned by what he had just witnessed and wondered why his mother had risked herself instead of saving him. Forcing himself back up, he shoved one wolf away and rushed to her side, questioning why she had done something so reckless when it was so dangerous. She insisted that she was fine and urged him to run away at once. Her words left him shaken, but before he could respond, he noticed both wolves glaring at him. Instinctively, he released a surge of power and glared back, wondering if they were seeking death. To his surprise, both beasts trembled in fear before retreating hastily. He shouted after them, declaring he wouldn't let them escape, but his body suddenly gave out and he collapsed again. Gasping for breath, he wondered why his stamina was so low and whether he truly had become this weak. As evening fell, he carried his mother on his back, deciding they needed to get home first. But as he walked, confusion set in. He couldn't even remember where their house was. Only by sheer luck, after finding her wallet with their address inside, did he manage to navigate through the streets and bring her back safely. Laying her down, he silently thanked God for that stroke of fortune, realizing he had almost gotten them both lost. As she slept, he overheard her murmuring that it was fine because she was there and that he should just run away. Her words echoed in his mind, and he couldn't understand why she would be willing to sacrifice herself for him. He looked down at his frail body, frustrated at how weak he had become. Even the lowest-grade monster had been more than he could handle. He wondered if fate had deliberately placed him into such a feeble form so that he might repeat his past failure once more. Then, without warning, a glowing screen appeared behind him. Strangely, instead of panicking, he felt a sense of calm, realizing this was a moment that demanded a clear head. The screen confirmed the user, identified the target as Soohyun, and declared that a gate had opened. Soohyun wondered if this was a bias. A gate opening for someone could only mean one thing. They possessed the potential to become an awakened. If that was the case, then perhaps he could start over as Soohyun. In his previous life, Sungin had been just a normal human in 2022, but now entering a bias earlier than before might actually be an advantage. For the first time, he felt there was no need to hesitate. He had been given a chance to begin again. He finally entered the Tower of Trials, a place more commonly known as the Abyss. Clearing the first floor of the tower granted one the right to awaken, unlocking the path to grow stronger by challenging the trials on the higher floors. Because of this, most people devoted themselves to climbing ever upward, aiming for the greatest heights. Yet, Soohyun soon realized there was something far more important within the tower's system than simply reaching the higher floors. If you like this video, so comment down for the next part.